would say to fight Trump tooth and nail would be a big mistake. I don't think that's what we should be doing, speaking about Democrats. Is he right?
Well, I think that separating two things, reflecting what Bernie said, which is if things like internment camps come up, the things around that divide people, racism, misogyny, the things that rolling back rights that women have had, gays and lesbians have had, will fight him tooth and nail. On the other hand, Bernie Sanders in his campaign argued for a big infrastructure plan, $1 trillion. Donald Trump has advocated for that in his campaign. So I think that there might be commonality there. What will be really interesting will be what commonalities there might be on trade, because as you know, Donald Trump made a big deal about the disaster of NAFTA, which I agreed with. Yep. The TPP is probably dead in the lame duck session, but will it come up again, partly because Republicans in Congress will push it? Where will Trump stand on that? And on that, if he opposes the TPP and other bad trade agreements, he would find, I'm sure, common cause with Democrats.
So on this issue of racism, yep. You know, President Joe Biden was extremely harsh, Jamie, in during the campaign about Donald Trump, right? As harsh as Mitt Romney. But last night he said it is wrong for Democrats to accuse Trump supporters of being racist. Okay, it's a powerful thing for him to say. Here's what he said.
We lost because there's an awful lot of hard-working Americans who live in areas where they, in fact, were not paying much attention to. They're not racist. Barack Obama won these people before. It's not like they're racist. They voted for it. But they didn't vote this time for the Democrat.
It's a powerful thing, Jamie, because there are a lot of Democrats who think that anyone who voted for Trump is a racist, or at the least is okay with people who are racist, and therefore are racist themselves. Okay, we've all heard this argument. There are a lot of people out there who think it. Joe Biden is telling those people to wake up.
I think that was so important what he did, and it speaks to this really, you know, we look at the map, and not only are we seeing different, you know, Hillary won this and Donald Trump won that, but there is a lack of understanding about what was behind so much of that. And the racism, when you go back and you look at the numbers, some people have a very loud voice, but they're a very small number of people. And I think, you know, Biden saying that, President Obama saying that is critical over and over again. That is not to dismiss that a lot of people still feel unsettled or scared. My kids are in college. They have friends who are dreamers, who are worried about, you know, their parents. So you have to balance these things out. You have to acknowledge the fear and those experiences, but you have to keep the racism realistic.
I mean, it was a powerful statement. It reminded me just how quickly Hillary Clinton walked back that half of Trump supporters were a basket of deplorables. She knew almost instantly after she got off the stage that she had stepped in it, but she still said it. It was still expressing something. And the reality is her campaign, they made a choice for wide swaths of Americans in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. They weren't going to talk to those people. And whether it was because they thought, their intentions, we don't know, they're not, the people who aren't with us. And I think what Joe Biden was trying to do was say, if the Democratic Party is going to be, let's say, like a big tent party, we can't just be generalizing, about Americans. What we can, what they can do is hold
I also think Democrats need to look to the Republican Party as a case study for what's happening in their own. I've said for a while, I think the Democratic Party.
Well, for the past year, we've been talking about a Republican Party that's split in half, doesn't know what's going to happen. Yes. How are they going to recover? Now, all of a sudden, they got to figure that out.
Sure.
But Bernie Sanders lays out a Democratic Party in complete chaos.
Well, and I think it is. And I, as a Trump supporter, have recognized the same fault lines that were in my party. That is to say, the voters feeling like their leaders do not represent them adequately was happening all along in the Democratic Party. And that's why we saw Bernie Sanders almost win the nomination. And these DNC leaks that came out that showed that the DNC was essentially stacked against Bernie Sanders, that just put more salt in those wounds. And the Democratic Party has on its hands what the Republican Party had on its hands in the form of Donald Trump coming the next 4 to 8 years, an outsider coming in to take over the party.
I think we can distinguish between two things. That Donald Trump, I believe, is a bigot and a racist. I think the way he promoted birtherism and attacked Mexicans and did all sorts of other things in the campaign.
But do you think anyone who voted for him is okay with that?
That was my second point. No. And I agree with the vice president. Many of those voters rejected the Democratic Party partly on economics. It's the reason that I did not support Hillary Clinton. I thought Bernie Sanders would have been a much better messenger, and he would have won that campaign and defeated Donald Trump.
Let's be clear. Some Donald Trump supporters, were saying we're going beyond what Donald Trump had said in terms of racist, sexist.
No question.
But the thing is that painting the president-elect's entire voter base, with one broad brush is terrible politics. I mean, the thing for Democrats to figure out right now, Hillary Clinton was a unique candidate. She appealed to the donor class and the multimillionaire class, and then she was also trying to appeal to African Americans, women. But here's the thing: there's what Joe Biden was talking about, and maybe Bernie could have won them, maybe Joe Biden could have won them. Is a large pool of white, middle class, and working class Americans who she could never figure out a way to broaden that message that did appeal to some African Americans.
And part of it was about turnout. People didn't turn out. Millennials, a lot of people.
And we saw that with women as well.